What if psychology is wrong? What if the way we think about achievements, health, and depression traditionally is just wrong? I'm John, and welcome back to the channel. I've decided to take us on a journey through a book called Learned Optimism by Martin Seligman, who's the father of positive psychology. I'm just going to start uploading a series of videos from Learned Optimism. It could include one chapter or a couple of chapters, depending on how long the chapter is, so that we can go through this book together and get as much out of it as possible. This book is going to give us the ability, if we're pessimists, to become optimistic. And by the way, a pessimist is someone who tends to think more negatively in the traditional way of thinking, and an optimist in the traditional way of thinking is someone who thinks more positively and is more happier, right? This book is going to break that down into a more complicated way, and I'm going to help you digest that. And again, I don't want you to go out and buy this book. I just want you to watch these videos, go through the chapters with me, and just grow together. Why is this book important though? Why should we read it and why should we talk about it? Well, this book's gonna help us live a little bit longer, because if you can think more optimistically or positively, then you're gonna increase your life. You're gonna have less stress and you're gonna think of things in a different way. You're also going to be able to turn from a pessimist to an optimist. Is it easy? No, and that book makes it very clear. Another thing that I want to make clear is Learned Optimism is from positive psychology, and it's not the power of positive thinking. It's not self-affirmations. Yes, a gratitude journal works, but waking up in the morning, according to this book, and saying a lot of positive affirmations doesn't really do anything for you. And I think that's incredible. The first chapter of this book really gets into the two different ways of looking at life. And as I said before, that's an optimist and a pessimist. I recently took a test on whether or not I was an optimist or a pessimist, and it turns out I'm a pessimist. And 2 years ago, I was an optimist. We can change from an optimist to a pessimist because life just takes us in different directions. And I just want to make clear that being a pessimist is not a bad thing. What's a bad thing is wanting to stay a pessimist and not want to change. And life is all about change, whether it's scary or not. The first chapter really gets into the two different ways of thinking, labeling a pessimist as someone who tends to generalize a lot of negative events and specify the positive events. For example, if I get in a car accident, I'm going to generalize that as a pessimist and say, I'm just a bad driver. I'm a really bad driver. Whereas if I'm an optimist or a positive person, I'm going to get in that car accident and I'm going to say, well, the weather conditions were a little off. I just wasn't having a good day, or that person ran into me, right? You're externalizing it and you're specifying it to that one situation. This also goes over the fact that a lot of us find ourselves in what's called learned helplessness. And learned helplessness is a situation where you don't feel like you have control of whatever is going on in life. For example, I can make this video high quality. I can spend hours and hours putting work into this video, but I can't control your response to it. I can control the quality, but I can't control whether you like this video. Just like you can get in the car today and drive to work, but you can't control the other drivers on the road. And distinguishing what you can and can't control is a huge part of positive psychology, and it's a huge part of whether you're a pessimist or an optimist. This book also gets into the traditional ways of thinking about depression, health, and achievement. For achievement, traditionally we think it's a combination of desire and talent. But you can have an abundance of desire. You can go to a self-help seminar, you can go to a motivational speech, and you can boost your desire, but it's going to fade away. And you can also have an abundance of talent, but having abundance of talent and a ton of desire doesn't mean you're going to succeed. Think about an Olympic champion or the person who got second place in the Olympics. They had a ton of desire and a ton of talent, but they didn't make it to first place. Does that mean nothing we can do is going to make us succeed in life? No. It's how you look at life and it's how you explain it. And that's the most important thing about this book, or at least about this chapter, is that it talks about how a pessimist and an optimist explain events that happen to them. So if a good event happens to you as an optimist, you're going to generalize it. Say I get an A on a test. I'm going to tell myself I'm a really great student and I'm just good at taking tests. If I'm a pessimist, I'm going to tell myself, well, I only studied really hard for this test, and I'm specifying that achievement. The goal as an optimist is to generalize those achievements and specify the disparities in life. This chapter just wants to remind us, learned optimism is not the power of positive thinking. It's the power of explaining your achievements broadly against your life. Another thing this chapter goes over is how depression is thought to be something that is inside of me, and how you're somehow internally angry at yourself. How you wake up every day and just hate yourself, and there's just this inner turmoil. Other people will say that there might be a malfunction in your brain, something's going on in there, and you're just not okay, so you need medication to treat it. But what if those two points of views are wrong? What if depression comes from our explanatory style of how we see the world? Or what if it's just a low mood? We do know in psychology that you can have an intermittent stage of depression in life that you can come out of. But what sucks is that some people are diagnosed, some normal people are diagnosed with depression that don't even have it. This book's going to take us through how to look at depression in a new light. Now, depression and pessimism can all come from that learned helplessness. It can come from the fact that you think you don't have control of anything. Well, to be real, there are a lot of things that you can control and that you can't control. We enter life in helplessness, where people have to feed and bathe us and clothe us, and we exit life in the same way. So there's a nice middle part of life where you have control of your career, you have control of what you eat in the morning, and you have control how you explain disparities. The next chapter for the next video is going to be going over learned helplessness in more detail, and I'm really excited for it. I'm excited for us to kind of continue on, and I know this was a short video, but I'm really excited to continue on through this book. Learn more about learned helplessness and get into the nitty-gritty details of learned optimism. So if you are a pessimist, you can become an optimist, and we can start explaining life in a more, happy light. During our next video, again, we're gonna go over the learned helplessness. If you like this content, please like this video. And if you have anything to add to what I already said, or anything to dispute what I said, please comment below and I'm happy to discuss it with you. I do want to remind everyone that the information I've gathered is from the book Learned Optimism by Martin Seligman. So if you like the content, please like the video and subscribe, and there will be more on your way. If you'd also like to participate in the community discussions or see anything that's going on in the world of social media for Circle of Care, then please follow us on Circle of Care Community on Instagram and Circle of Care Community on Facebook. Either like the page or follow us on Instagram, and that'd be great.